If you're watching this and you're frustrated with the rate of muscle growth you are getting and not seeing changes in shape in relation to the effort that you're applying to the gym, I've been in your situation and I'm going to give you 4 strategies to check whether you are making very common mistakes. This is going to help you build muscle faster and overcome a muscle building plateau where you may be self-sabotaging currently. Now, back a few years ago when I was actually spending more time in the gym, I was probably spending 6 hours a week in the gym doing a push-pull leg split twice a week, I found that my rate of progress was actually stalling and I wasn't seeing the changes in shape that I expected. Now, what actually fixed this was taking a step back and looking at these 4 key things. Before we jump into these 4 key points, I'm just going to circle back to the 2 key things that you have to think about with building muscle. Now, if only I had 10 quid for every time I say the word progressive overload, because it really is that simple. Now, you can look for all the information that you want online, but where most people fall down with building muscle is simply applying the basics long enough over time to actually see results. So building muscle comes down to training close to failure, which means not leaving more than 1 to 2 reps on a working set. So it needs to get tough. As you get towards the end of a set, you shouldn't have more than 2 reps in the tank. So a lot of people are going into the gym doing 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 15, 3 sets of 10, and looking at these arbitrary numbers, fixated on hitting a certain number of reps. But is it actually getting difficult? Is the weight moving a bit slower towards the end of your set? And checking that you are applying that training intensity is the first point of call. When you've got this training intensity established, the key thing that you've got to be doing over time is applying progressive overload. Pay me a tenner that I just said. Now, this means increasing the reps and the weights over time. How do you actually do this in practice? What you're going to do is add a small increment up in weight when you get to the end of a rep range. So what a lot of clients in my experience have found when they first start, when they're struggling, is when you get to the end of a rep range, say 3 sets of 10, you could add a small increment up in weight, lower the reps back down to 5 or 6 reps for 3 sets, rest between these sets, and then you build up the weight from there. So you go 3 sets of 10, add weight, build up the reps, and then when you get back to the top of your rep range, which you might have chosen as 5 to 10 in this case, then you add weight back on. So the mistakes that are very common here are jumping the weight up too quickly, or just not knowing when to actually increase the weights, or being afraid of actually pushing the weights up. So applying progressive overload means that you are forcing your body to adapt and to build bigger muscles over time, because if you're never increasing the weight, why would your muscles suddenly get bigger? You've got to think of it like that. So when you ask yourself, am I actually building muscle, and you see no changes in shape over a long period of time, all it means is there is something going on with your lifestyle that is sabotaging progressive overload. A very common mistake with applying progressive overload over time that I've seen with a number of clients is when you are getting frustrated that you haven't increased the weight or the reps on a particular set, what a lot of people do is they add too many sets on, and this is typically known as junk volume. Now, the problem with adding loads of more sets on for the sake of it means that you may just be fatiguing yourself out and then impacting your ability to apply progressive overload in subsequent workouts. So it's critical that you avoid not adding on too many sets at the end of each workout for the sake of it, because these are not going to be high quality sets for building muscle. Remember, there's not a linear relationship between the number of sets you do and how much muscle you build. You can't just keep adding on sets, get to 50 sets on bicep curls and get the biggest biceps you've ever seen. There is a cap at which point you are going to struggle to recover, and you cannot apply progressive overload. So you're going to sabotage the actual rate that you increase the weights, because you are just too tired from the number of sets you're doing. So start on the lower end of volume, 2 to 3 sets on each exercise. Make sure you are applying progressive overload and building the weights up over time before you look to add on any more additional sets. Provided that you are not doing too much junk volume, your number of sets are reasonable in the gym, and you're resting between sets sufficiently such that you can push the weights up, the only other things that will probably sabotage you in applying progressive overload and building muscle are going to be the non-sexy basics that no one wants to tell you about. Look at the next supplement, look at the next cool exercise that you're missing on TikTok. It's not the case, right? Nailing the basics of sleep, which is 7 to 8 hours consistently each night, or at least trying to wind down before bed, get off your phone, stop scrolling TikTok, all right, and actually get a good quality night's sleep. and looking at your diet, so having sufficient protein, which is going to be between 1.6 and 2.2 grams per kilo of your body weight per day. If you're doing this consistently over time, your weight should be going up. And if they're not, that is a surefire way to tell if you're doing too much in the gym, because that means that you cannot recover. Your ability to recover between your sessions is not there if the weights are stalling. So ask yourself these questions. Am I applying progressive overload? Am I pushing myself close to failure? Am I having sufficient protein and actually looking at my diet, my sleep? Be honest with yourself here. Are you actually taking care of yourself? And then, provided that you're not doing excess jump volume and too many sets in the gym and tiring yourself out too much, then you should be okay, and you should start seeing that progress to speed up. Once I started going from 6 sessions a week to 4 and doing less time in the gym with a higher quality set, really pushing myself, I saw far quicker changes in shape, and you will too. If you found this useful, hit like and subscribe for more simple fat loss and muscle building tips. I'll see you very soon.